Hi, I'm Dave, and if this is your first time checking in with us, thank you for joining us. And if you're returning, thank you for coming back and watching Our Black Rattle Life. Today we're going to talk about our blueprints. We finally got the copies of them. It took several months to get them. We contacted the architect in August and got on his waiting list. Then we started the plans with him in October. Sorry, it was in October, and by the middle of November we got our blueprints. So it takes a long time, and these are the blueprints that we have. It's a very small home, fairly simple, and we wanted something easy to maintain. So this is where we'll start with discussing it. First page is the 3D view. It actually is the first view that gives you an idea of what you're going to be getting. Ours also has the liability disclaimer, which protects the creator of the blueprints, and it has the scale on it. Every page will have a scale on it, so it's really, really important that you talk to your architect to find out what scale, what size paper it should be printed on, because if you print these on the wrong paper, you won't be able to measure off them to see what the scale is, and it'll throw all of your measurements out of whack. And finally, the big thing on there is the revision history. So there's a list of every time you've gone back and redone the blueprints, and you always want to make sure that everybody that's dealing with it, your electrician, your plumber, foundation people, anybody that you're hiring, and yourself, are on the very most recent edition of the blueprints, because any changes could really throw you out. Page number 2 is the foundation, or in our case, the post layout page, because we had decided to go with screw piles for our house. So in this one, the architect has laid out where the posts will have to go, how far apart, what size posts, and connectors. It also shows the bracing and the types of material, and your floor joists, your beams, what material your beams have to be, how many there has to be, how thick. As example, 3 2x12s laminated together. It shows you what sizes those have to be, and it gives you all that layout. So that will be your floor. Everything that goes on there is the foundation that the rest of your house goes on. So this is a very important step. Page 3 is the floor plan, and this is probably the page that you spent the most time on with your architect or draftsman, trying to lay out where everything is going to go to make sure that you've got enough room to do everything you want to do in your house. It also is the one that gives you the placement of your mechanicals, like your hot water heater, your pump, your pressure tank, your HVAC systems. It also gives the locations of your plumbing fixtures, your electrical fixtures, smoke detectors, and your windows and doors. So these are all very important things to have nailed down, because you want everything to be exactly where you want it, and this is your last chance to get it where you want it. Page 4 is on our blueprints is the front elevation. Now this is important to us because your front elevation is what you see from the road. In planning and building practices, the front of your house is traditionally the side that faces the road. We live on a lake, we're building on a lake, and we want our view to be of the lake, not of the road. So it looks like our house is turned around backwards, and our rear, and what we would call our rear entry, faces the road, and our front entry faces the lake. But these plans, this elevation gives you your ground clearances, your wall heights. It explains the materials that you use, and the finished materials and sizes, and shows the roof materials in the gable inch, the overhangs on the gable ends. Page 5 shows the left elevation, shows the approximate grade of the property, which is the best estimate that we could give to the architect. He didn't come out on site. Shows the bracing on the posts, and it shows the pitch of the roof. It also shows many of the deck construction details. Shows you how the deck posts and beams tie together to have a covered deck out over the house, which was a little something different for ours, but it's how we wanted to live our life. We spend a lot of time on the deck, and we didn't want to be in the sun all the time. We have sunny decks, but not this one. Page 6 shows the rear elevation. In our case, we call it the front elevation, but that's just us. That shows the posts and the posts going in and the posts going up on the deck. And one of the important things to remember is that all of your posts have to line up directly above each other so that the weight load of your roof carries down to the foundation in the ground. It also shows the railing heights and railing composition that you're going to put in. And it shows the beam compositions again so that you know that you're putting the beams in the right place. Gives you the heights of the beams and the posts that you're going to use. Page 7 is the right elevation. It's very much similar to the left elevation, but it shows the windows on the opposite side. One of the things I didn't mention in some of the earlier slides that we had is that these elevations show what happens on the walls. Your floor plan shows where everything goes on the floor, where everything has to be placed, where your interior walls go. But the only place you're going to see on these diagrams is your elevations to show where your windows, doors, and things like that go. And that's is like everything else on there is very similar to the right elevation. Page 8 shows the bones of the house. Actually, it shows your truss requirements, how the load has to carry from the trusses to the walls, and that's important for your truss manufacturer to know how the load has to be carried. It also shows your insulation requirements. Walls, ceilings, floors all have different insulation requirements based on your jurisdiction. It also shows the beam types, whether a beam is flush or a dropped beam. A flush beam is one that your floor joists will go into the beam and hang by joist hangers. A dropped beam is one that everything sits on top of the beam and can carry out over the top of it to cantilever, or it can be flush with the outside edge. It also shows all the material sizes on these things. It shows any specific blocking requirements. We have a cantilever in our floor, so it has to be blocked directly over the beam so that carrying the weight of the walls on the piece that's cantilevered out over doesn't twist the floor joists and break the house. It also shows that you have to have hurricane ties on the floors, joists, and the trusses. And it shows venting requirements, how you get the air to vent your attic so that your house doesn't overheat in the summer. And it shows the doorstep design for going in. We didn't follow this doorstep design, but we changed it a little bit to make it a little bit larger, but still keep it inside of a doorstep, because in our jurisdiction, you're allowed to build a doorstep without a separate building permit. But if you're going to build a deck, then you have to have a separate permit and go through a whole bunch of extra inspections for that. So we decided to keep it as a doorstep for now. And if we want to expand it later, then we'll get a permit to extend our deck. Now that I've hopefully given you some idea what a blueprint is and how to read it, what the information is on there, it's about time that we start earning our money as a contractor. Everything we've done up to this point is something that you would do as a homeowner if you had hired a general contractor to build your house for you. You would sit down with the architect, you would design your house that you want somebody to build for you. Now you're going to be the one that builds it. So you're going to take all of these copies of the blueprints, or the blueprints that you've got, and you'll probably go to a copy shop. We went to Staples here in Nova Scotia. It's about 30 minutes away from us, and printed off a stack of copies. And depending on how many copies you want, or how complicated your build is, how many contractors you're looking at will determine how many copies you want. You'll need one for your building code, at least one for your building code. You'll need one for every foundation contractor you send out for bids on. If you're getting an electrician, if you're looking for somebody to give you estimates on electrical work, you'll need a copy for each person you bid on that. The same for your plumbers. You'll need a copy if you build on screw piles like we did. They had to go to the engineering, their company for engineering background. So they needed a copy. They also needed the copy for themselves. And the truss manufacturer needed a copy. You'll also need copies of your blueprints for your building suppliers. Depending on the area you live, we're a fairly small rural area and there are not a lot of suppliers. So we send out quotes to 3 different building supply places to ask them to supply us a house package. And they do what's called a takeoff. So they look at your blueprints, they estimate the number of studs, the number of floor joists, how many square feet of flooring you're going to need, like how many sheets of OSB, oriented strand board, for your floors and your ceilings, different types, how much for your walls, cost of your windows, doors, all of that things will go together. We also needed a set for our metal floor, metal siding and metal roofing supplier. We went to a company called Walls Metal Roofing in Blockhouse, and they manufacture their own metal roofing and metal siding on site. So they were able to look at our blueprints and know the heights of our walls, because the height of the wall at the deck and the height of the wall on the front elevation were a few inches difference, and it's all manufactured to size. Each roof panel is one full length from the peak to the eaves, and in our case it was like 16 feet 4 inches each piece. So they look at your blueprints and give you the sizes, and most of those things are charged by the square foot. So once you send all those out, they will get your estimates back to you. So I think we printed off at least a dozen copies, because you're going to want 3, 4, 5 copies for yourself. You're going to write notes on them to remind yourself things. And if you're building like we did over, 9 or 10 month period, you're going to have rain, you're going to have snow, you're going to have wind come up and maybe tear them. They're going to get worn and frazzled. So it's better to have a stack of them rolled up and ready to grab a new set if you want. Melinda and I both had a set, and so she could carry hers around and wear the white hat and watch what I did. She rolled her eyes at me. She didn't do that. But it's good to each have your own copy, because she could make notes on things she thought while maybe I was up on the ladder or scaffolding, and I could make notes on things that I wanted to discuss with her to make sure that this was what we had actually decided on, if we were making any changes after the fact. So now you can print your blueprints, and it's you're ready. You're getting so close to building, and you'll find out what a good idea of what your final cost should actually be at this point. If you liked what you saw today and it brings you any knowledge, please hit the like and subscribe button. We really enjoy talking to you. We'd love to have you come back, and if you hit the bell icon, you can get notifications when there's new information coming out, new episodes come out. So thank you for joining, and hopefully we see you next time on Black Rattle Life. If you've enjoyed what you saw today, and if you're getting any knowledge from it, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. We need our subscribers to, and that isn't right.